Give me just a second, y'all. I lost my. Yes. Brittany, are we good to go?
You're good to go. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to this. Thanks everyone for being here. I will go ahead and call this April 15th, 2024 Recreation Committee meeting to order. If we can just take a moment, let's have a brief moment of silence. Amen. All right, thank you everyone. Do I have a motion to approve the March 18th, 2024?
Move for approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, thank you everyone. Now I don't think so. Jason's not here. Is anyone else from Parks here that can give us an update on the field maintenance and scheduling report? Nope, I guess not.
Councilmember Parker, I can at least chime in and let you know that we are in full swing in all of our sports this spring. It has been a lot of rain here lately. Unfortunately, Thursday we got a lot of rain, but with those big winds that came through, Wednesday, it dried us up pretty quickly, so we were able to return to play on Saturday. So we'll be making up some stuff, but all of our fields are playable again right now. And we are playing games on all of our complex fields that have lights. And practices have kind of been pushed out to the neighborhood parks, so teams are finding places. But every night of the week and at least through 2 o'clock on Saturdays, we're on soccer fields, baseball fields, softball fields, lacrosse fields. So our sports are in full swing, and Jason's guys are keeping up with mowing and ball field maintenance, given the weather conditions as best they can.
Great, thank you. Thank you for stepping in on that one. Do any committee members have any, I obviously see our fields a lot here on James Island, but I didn't know if anyone in other areas had any questions, concerns. I know the fields out here have been looking wonderful. So just appreciative for that. But if anyone has any other in other areas. All right.
Yeah. Just really quick, Jason Kronsberg came out to the fields on was it last Friday while I was out there, and met with some of the coaches, and was able to kind of point out some of the things that for the baseball fields I'm talking about for that CCSD uses on Johns Island. And I think he was going to send out a team to fix a lot of the lights that were overlooking the fields, because a lot of lights are burned out and pointed away. And I don't know if that was been done. I think it was close to have been getting done.
Councilman McBride, I can share that the lights did get, they fixed lights except when the bucket truck got stuck on field 1, which is not the field that either the baseball or the softball teams use. And we have notified the Little League that we got a field, got a piece of equipment stuck out there. It had to be pulled out because it was still wet. So that did a little rut damage. They're working on trying to get that fixed, but the other lights were addressed. Jason and his crew were able to do that.
Great. That's awesome. And it's a good example to see the constituents out there, me and Jason out there talking about it. And a few days later, the lights are fixed. So that's definitely a positive win in the perception of the minds of the people out there. So that's good. Thanks for that. And I did observe that CCSD held a Zoom meeting on the plan that they and the city are working on for next year's dramatic revamping of those fields. So I attended that meeting on Zoom, and that was really good. I got some screenshots of the plans, that the city and the CCSD have. It's like $7.5 million renovation, which is pretty significant. So that'll be exciting. And I just whispered in Mr. Kronsberg ear, I think it'd be great if the mayor with CCSD did some kind of a press conference leading up to that to kind of highlight that, because that'll be a huge positive impact on the island for a lot of parents and kids out there.
Okay, great.
I'll pass along your thank yous to Jason. Thank you, Councilmember McBride.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember McBride. Do you feel like, have you gotten a little more clarity on the maintenance as far as CCSD versus the city?
Yes, and I think kind of the rabble rousing that we were doing, just kind of bringing this up, has my perception is it's gotten CCSD kind of woken them up a little bit. I don't know for a fact, but I just all of a sudden they seem to be more engaged about the maintenance that they're supposed to be doing. So it seems like it is better.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll keep getting feedback from the coaches and the parents and let you know. But in the last couple of weeks, it's been better.
Okay, wonderful. Great to hear it. All right. Any programming updates, Lori? I know you kind of just gave us a quick overview, unless you had anything else. I see the kids out there on all these fields and it's just wonderful. But if you have any other updates for us, we'd be happy. We'd love to hear them.
I will happily do that. So that's only about 5,700 participants that we're referencing there. So we're also at full planning mode for summer camps. Registrations have been ongoing now for several weeks. Most of our camps are full, but we do have some remaining spots. If any of your constituents are interested, you can go on the website, you can call our main office. We'll get you hooked up with where we still have some spots remaining. But the response to summer camps and special camps and sport camps has been tremendous. We'll also be doing registration for summer swim lessons on May the 11th. So a lot of the folks that don't have year-round pools, our friends on James Island, West Ashley, those pools, and Herbert Hazel in downtown, all of those pools will be having summer swim lessons. So we will be having that sign up on May the 11th. I want to share one positive note, real positive note. In the last couple of years, you all have heard me kind of complain about the lack of lifeguards and folks that we can get to apply for positions to teach swim lessons and safeguard our pools. We have a new aquatics manager, Steven Fernandez, and his staff who are really working hard. They're doing a lot of training, a lot of outreach. We're going to have a young staff, but there's nothing wrong with that. These folks are all coming on board, but we're going to have all city staff in lifeguard slots and water safety slots. So we're very excited about that this year. So the demand for having pools open and accessible for our citizens will be met this summer by our city staff. So I'm very excited about that. Otherwise, we're open for after school programs. There's a lot of people in our parks. As some of you all were talking, it seems like summer. Where it was winter last week and raining, it's now summer. So there's just a lot of use. I was downtown yesterday and there were people on pickleball courts and tennis courts and basketball courts and everywhere. So it's great to see the public out using our parks and engaging in recreation. So we appreciate your support in making that happen.
Great. Thank you, Lori. Well, we appreciate you getting it all set up. It's not an easy, there's not always an algorithm for getting all these fields up and running, but seeing everybody out there, I mean, this weekend, it was a beautiful sight to see those fields full. So thank you for all you do. All right, moving on to new business. We have a presentation by First Tee. So please take it away.
Yeah, I'll introduce Bucky Dudley, the executive director of First Tee. And some of you know that First Tee does some incredible things with the youth here in the Charleston area. Bucky himself does an incredible job along with his whole team. Not just teaching kids golf, but mentoring. And I won't take any of Bucky's thunder away. He can explain it better than I can. But they've got some ideas on ways they can do even more with the youth here in the Charleston area. So I'm going to pass it on to Bucky and let him talk to you from there. So.
Yeah, Kevin, thanks. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me, letting me peel back the onion a little bit and see how y'all operate. We have a local board of directors, and so I'm often in these type scenarios. And so just appreciate you letting me be here. So my name, again, as Kevin said, Bucky Dudley. I live in Mount Pleasant with my amazing wife, who we're celebrating an 11th anniversary here next week. Two beautiful boys, 8 and 5, who go to school here and both participate in recreation over in Mount Pleasant, you know, many of the services just like you're delivering to everyone. So thank y'all for that. It's a lot of hard work that y'all do from council men and women to the staff members. So thank y'all from just a regular old dad who likes seeing his kids out at the fields getting to participate. Sports played an important part of my life. But originally from Hartsville, South Carolina, I moved to Charleston in 1996. So I can't call myself a native, but probably more than most these days. Graduated, played golf at the Citadel, studied at the Citadel, graduated on a Friday, put my flag in the ground on a Saturday, and I've lived here ever since. So I helped start the First Tee as a founding board member in 2006. We started programming in 2008. The mission of the First Tee is to positively impact kids' lives ages 5 to 18. We serve Charleston, Berkeley, and Dorchester counties, and we teach character traits and life skills through sport. One way that I've heard it said is we use golf as a Trojan horse to deliver the character traits and life skills program as written. So many of the things that each one of you all learned through a different sport, we use golf. There is inherent values in the game of golf, such as honesty. You keep your own score. Integrity, you play the ball as it lies. Sportsmanship, respect and responsibility. Perseverance. Many of these and all of these core values are tied into our program in a well-written curriculum that we train our coaches and our volunteers on. And so if you look at the 4 ways we reach kids, we do in-school and after-school programming. So after school, you can find us at one of 7 different golf courses throughout the greater Charleston area. We're in 40 plus greater Charleston elementary schools. Most of those are in Charleston County. We're now starting to bridge out to Dorchester and Berkeley a little bit more, but primarily most of those 40 elementary schools serve Charleston County kids. We also are through community outreach partners. So think of those as recreation departments, YMCAs, Low Country Autism, Special Olympics, Girl Scouts, churches, you name it. If there's a youth service organization that maybe has a bulk of kids, but looks for a partner and for some programming for them, we're in. We'll come to you, you come to us, it doesn't matter. The answer is yes. We'd love to partner and reach kids in that way. And then through more recently, an immersion program that we started 3 years ago, we call it our Pathfinder program. And what we look to do is help these kids find a path to success. Not every kid's destined for college. And so what we're doing is we're taking kids from rising 6th graders, and doing an immersion program between their 5th and 6th grade summer. And we get 4 boys and 4 girls every summer. And we pick them up 5 days a week. We feed them breakfast and lunch. We do our character education program through golf in the morning. And then we partner with local business leaders to do STEM and STEAM and enrichment activities in the afternoon. And as the school time starts back, we stay with those kids on Saturdays. And then the next summer comes around, we've got our original group, and then we're bringing in 8 new kids to be a part of that Pathfinder program with the ultimate goal of helping these kids that want to go to college, help them secure a spot in college, but also trade programs, vocational schools, getting out into the workforce. What is their path to success? And so, many people think of, and this kind of leads me into the 3 common misconceptions of First Tee. And the first one is that we're just a golf program. Last year, we reached 19,869 kids in the greater Charleston area. And my background as a golf pro and the way our curriculum and what we do, I'm not delusional to think I'm creating 20,000 new golfers every year. But much like what recreation does, much like what you do, our program helps these kids, gives them some tools in their toolbox to tackle things that come at them next, the challenges that life throws at them. The second misconception is that we're a massive nonprofit. There's 132 other First Tees in the United States, and each one is its own individual 501c3. So every bit of the volunteer hours and the donor dollars that we're out in the community raising is returned back to the community at 100%. So a little bit different of a model. Most people have heard of, other nonprofits, and they might have a headquarters in Cleveland, and, you give $1 and 10 cents comes back to the community. That's not what we do. I live here. All of our volunteers live here. Our staff members live here. We're a part of the community. And then the third misunderstanding is most people think that First Tee is only for underserved or underprivileged kids. And while, yes, we reach a whole ton of underserved and underprivileged, I heard it said best by a coach one time that First Tee is not just a program for underserved or underprivileged or served or privileged. It's just a program for kids. In fact, in Charleston, our chapter has taken a stance not to segregate a child because of their socioeconomic status or their ethnicity or their gender. We're actually trying to blend and get kids to learn together from all walks of life. The learning environment is so much more richer when you can bring kids from all parts and backgrounds together to learn. And so I think as you're out and about and as you hear more, I feel like right now I see a bunch of names and faces on here. But as you hear more about people and they talk about First Tee, keep those misunderstandings and the way that we're reaching kids in mind, because the awareness part of what we do is really, really important. So on the call, I think you might see another smiling face. I actually have one of our board of directors, Nick Schumacher, who's probably heard me give that elevator pitch a million times, but would love to open it up to Nick to maybe say hello and chime in a little bit on maybe what I missed.
I wish I had 20% of Bucky's enthusiasm in my life in general, man, because he's absolutely the glue that makes our organization successful. But, I've been involved with the First Tee for something like, I think 12, 13 years now, believe it or not. Yeah, Bucky, I saw that today. And a past president of the board. I chair our major fundraising initiative most years, and am heavily involved in this new undertaking that, why are we talking to you today? Well, I see a couple familiar faces. Carolyn, I met you in the Clearview neighborhood once upon a time, looking at a piece of property that a couple of years ago. And Kevin was nice enough to hang out with Bucky and I think I saw Amy Wharton on here too. And I hadn't talked to her or Councilman Gregory in a while, but hello, and appreciate everybody's time. I've been in the Charleston area for 20 some odd years, mostly in the construction and real estate development fields. And I've coached, I love the rec program. I've got my 7-year-old is now playing for James Island's rec program. And I was out there poorly coaching those poor kids the other day. And my oldest has got a game against Beckham tonight for James Island High School. Started with her dad coaching her as a 5-year-old. And just Kate Cosgrove left James Island. I think her last day was Friday. I don't know if you guys know that name, but she ran a bunch of programming and was fantastic. We're sad to see her go, but I'm sure it's being left in good hands. But anyhow, why are we talking to you guys? So I was a board member that fought against what I'm about to describe to you here for several years because I just didn't know if we were ready and wanted to make sure we were ready. But we've, for the last year and a half, been working on momentum to go ahead and build a facility for our programming. And that thing is we're not 100% sure what it's going to look like yet, but I can tell you what it will have. We're going to build a 10,000-foot building, more or less. We're going to have some golf simulators, maybe some indoor putting facilities. We're going to have office space, which is much needed, and most importantly, classroom and community space that will really help. We see a lot of kids in our programming that could use a little more sense of home, a little more sense of community, and as kids get older too, it's kind of neat to have a clubhouse, a place that you can call home and be safe and good place, go do your homework, or we can have our programming on rainy days instead of having to rely on partnerships with a bunch of other golf courses. We have great partnerships throughout the community and throughout the Tri-County, really, including the Muni. But it's always nice to not have to have those in every instance. And, there's only so much golf course space. Golf's gotten a lot more popular, as I'm sure you guys all know, since COVID. And we are getting done a lot of really nice favors by a lot of really, really nice people on golf courses. So just to have the ability to not necessarily rely so much on others, or just frankly be able to expand our programming with more resources. So we'll have some sort of outdoor golf facility as part of what we're going to build. At minimum, probably a nice terrace or nice complicated putting complex, maybe a couple holes a short course, maybe 9 holes a short course. I don't know. It's going to depend on the land. And so as we've been pondering this for years, my biggest concern was to make sure that we were financially solvent enough to to keep a facility like this. It's fun and not all that hard and kind of sexy to raise money for a nice, fun new facility, but boy, it's hard to raise money to cut the grass. And so we wanted to make sure that we were in a position to allow us to go build something nice and special and sustain it, and not stress our chapter beyond the point of no return. Bucky alluded to this earlier, but I think it's worth repeating, and my wife runs the American Heart Association for the Charleston market. So I know what the kind of big, I'm by osmosis very involved in how the sort of big national charities go. If we raise $1 in Charleston, South Carolina, we're going to spend $1 on Charleston, South Carolina kids. We actually end up getting a few pennies down from our national office. So that's why I've been passionately involved in this organization for the better part of, for over a decade. Is I like knowing that we are in control of really affecting the lives of people in our community. The other reason I really like it is we've over the years developed and cultivated a really nice, continuously strong board that is thoughtful, and everybody works hard. And what that has brought us is a lot of good ideas. If we have a good idea, we just go execute it. We don't have to ask permission from anybody else. We don't have to run it up a national chain. We just go do it. We go implement programs like the Pathfinders program, which has been wildly successful. So long story short, we're actively hunting for property, and we've studied a couple of sites really hard. We've got some money to spend on that, and as part of about a $10 to $12 million fundraising effort that we've already had all the soft communication about, and are at the point now where we just need to point to a dot on a map and say, here's where it's going and here's what it's going to look like, team. So why are we talking to you? Well, I always had this idea that in my various dealings in real estate and development and construction, sometimes it's not always that easy for an entity like a government entity to get cash in hand to go build a thing, but maybe it's easier to maintain. So I've always wondered if there's not an opportunity with, we talked to Charleston County Parks, we talked to City of Charleston. Is there an opportunity to partner in some manner with a city organization and maybe exchange some usage for some contribution toward maintenance and upkeep of the place, given the fact that the city's got a lot of equipment and maintains a lot of things? Maybe not. Maybe we just end up needing help with entitlement and permitting processes, which are, always adventurous in the city. And, I think we're going to do good stuff, but it's always nice to at least have advocates within the city on our behalf if necessary, and for a meeting here or there. So I think mostly this conversation is about awareness. And then, in talking with Kevin not too long ago, are there any properties that the city has control over that they think might be a good use for this, whether it's in a partnership or just a sales transaction, and knowing we're going to come and do something good with the city. We have this unique ability to mess with kind of nasty land, wet land, stuff that's, you can do a lot of things moving water on a site and building golf holes around it. So we might have the opportunity to kind of create a win-win on a piece of property like that. Who knows? But it's a real thing. It's going to happen. We have the money teed up. We have the support in our community, and our community of support is based on a lot of folks that are very influential in the community that have had the ability to write checks for things that are important to them, and they like how we've operated for this time. So people that are helpful for politicians and whatnot to be friends with is sort of our group of core supporters. For what it's worth, that's what we're up to. I don't know that we have a specific ask necessarily today, but would love for you guys to understand what we're doing and offer any thoughtful words or support, or maybe just have it in your head over the next few months as you're kicking around in your day to day. And boy, this sure would work. Bucky, what do we need? Something like ideally like 4 to 8 acres, 4 to 10 acres, something like that. Unmute.
Sorry, I've always missed doing that. Yeah, 5 to 10 acres is a sweet spot of geography, and centrally located to allow kids from all parts of the greater Charleston area to get to us is really important. And one of the founding principles of the facilities committee is we can't be stuck too far where it only supports one group of kids. We really do want to support kids and families from all over the greater Charleston area.
So that probably means that probably means, something close by 526 or I-26, something to let a lot of folks access. But we're a real group with real staying power. Bucky, when I was president, I challenged Bucky every year to come up with 3 big ideas to see what we could go accomplish. And he was like, all right, since you asked, we want every kid in Charleston to be able to play golf for free. Well, within a year, we more or less have that arranged. There's 8 or 9 golf courses in the Tri-County area right now that if you call the day of and you're a kid and you can carry your own bag, you can walk onto that golf course and play for free. We've subsidized some of it. Some of the courses have realized it's such a benefit to their what's important to them that we're not subsidizing near what we did at the beginning. One year Bucky said, boy, I sure would like to help some of our kids with some school supplies. Let's buy some backpacks. And so he can tell you the numbers, but I think first year we did maybe 50. The second year, I think we did like 500.
Yeah.
And it's just because we had an idea and went and executed. We had challenges with transportation. We weren't, in the legal ramifications of toting kids around from school to golf courses. We solved all of that. We figured all out. We just bought our 3rd van, I think, our 3rd bus, and we're able to help bring more and more kids to programming after school, which more and more kids to programming after school, which is fantastic. There's example after example of how we've just done what we wanted to do and done it for the benefit of the community. So,
Yeah.
a lot of rambling, but
No, that's okay.
we're very excited about this project. We are going to accomplish it, and really just want this committee to be aware of it, and would love for anybody to come with helpful ideas or thoughts or encouragement or support or pitfalls to watch out for, anything of that nature.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Schumacher and Mr. Dudley for those, all that information. I know it's a wonderful program. You utilize the Muni, I believe, throughout the year and in the summer for camp. So I've heard such great things. It's such a great program. I certainly think I told Councilmember Shealy this, I think, presenting at the real estate committee might be a good option as well, as they're probably a little more aware of said properties. But I know that y'all are still kind of at the beginning stages anyway. So maybe we can, come back to us anytime. That's what this committee's here for, just getting kids out there, getting them active, and obviously through volunteers and programs like yourself. The city has a lot of that, carries a lot of that burden, for the recreation for the city and all the kids. So having programs like yours are really important. So thank you for all that you do. And Kevin or Councilmember Shealy, unless you have anything else, I would certainly, I think it's great conversation starter. Happy to hear that you guys are growing and doing great things. And I think we definitely need to continue the conversation.
Yeah. Thank you, Councilmember Parker. Just want to say, they have First Tee has not their organization individually here, but in other places like Aiken and Wilmington and Augusta and Hilton Head, they have already done this. So it's not a new idea. These other communities have done this. First Tee here is going to do this. I want it to be in Charleston. I don't want it to be in North Charleston or Mount Pleasant or wherever. I want it to be in Charleston. And that's why I wanted to jump on this, bring it before the recreation department, and, have it happen in our neighborhood right here where we're helping the city of Charleston kids. So hopefully we can do that.
Absolutely.
And like you said, I know we need to talk with, we need to talk with some different committees and see what we need to do, but real estate, of course, being one of those. But I want us to be a part of this. So that's why I brought them to the table. So.
I agree. Absolutely. And, they said one thing that struck me, they can do a lowland. So we have plenty of that in Charleston that we can't do much with. So I think golf and, just, the resiliency that sort of golfing can provide, that green space, it's really great. So I do agree with you, Councilmember Shealy. I think we should continue to have this conversation. So thank you.
Councilmember Parker,
Yeah.
briefly, not to interrupt you, but when we've actually engaged with some civil design, obviously at this point, and schemed on a couple of sites. We've got a really unique opportunity to make lemonade out of out of something here that is a stormwater runoff problem.
Right.
We could do a stormwater project on a piece of dirt that happens also to be a golf facility. So,
Right.
food for thought. If there's properties around it that come to mind, that's, we've got the money to accomplish it. Every dollar we don't have to raise towards dirt or development is certainly a dollar that's helpful to put back into programming and help more kids. But just keep that in mind as things come to mind. We can make something pretty nasty be special.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was the first thing I thought when you said, low-lying land. But well, thank you, gentlemen, so much. And I look forward to hearing from you again shortly. And hopefully the city will continue this conversation. And I definitely think you should head to real estate and just put it in there, get them talking about it as well. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Everyone.
Does anyone have any other questions for First Tee? All right, moving on. We have an ordinance to adopt a revised fee schedule for special events, applications, and permits as administered by the City of Charleston Special Events Committee. Is that Ms. Gianni? Are you taking this one?
Yes, I would be happy to.
Thank
Hi,
you.
and Melissa, do you have anything to add before I jump in? Okay. I'm Katie Gianni. I'm the special events manager for the city under the Department of Livability and Tourism. Dan Riccio is my director. I'm the chair of the Special Events Committee, which is comprised of 10 different city departments, and we're really excited to get this fee schedule updated. Just as a recap, special events, those are permitted events that are organized, large-scale events, organized on City of Charleston property, public right-of-way, trails, or other property or facilities owned by the City of Charleston. So that's the festivals, road races, the half marathon, the neighborhood block parties, wheeled races, and those parades. Just like the park fee schedule, the fee schedule hasn't been updated in a few years, so we're excited to get this updated and kind of get in line with some neighboring jurisdictions. We weren't charging very much over the last couple of years, but this new fee schedule kind of gets us in line with those other jurisdictions. In 2023, the fee schedule, this new one you've got in front of you, or here, let me share my screen, if that's okay. Let's see. So this is the new special events fee schedule. Yes, y'all can see that. We're not making any changes to the definitions of the current special event, the definition of the current special events in the ordinance. We're only updating the fee schedule. So those small events, that's anything under 500 people that has an impact to multiple city departments, the right of way, or at a city park or facility, going to $50 opposed from currently it's $25. Medium events, that's between 500 and 1,000 up to 100 or $150 for that new permit fee schedule. Major events is events that are 1,000 persons or over, and that is the biggest jump on the fee schedule on this new fee schedule to $250 for the permit fee. And then the commercial film and photography. Right now, the small commercial film and photography, all of those permits go through the Office of Cultural Affairs. But the large scale, the filming projects that are closing a street or want to film late at night or want to have special effects or, any of those kind of movie theatric things that are larger than just a wedding photography session, those come to special events as well. And so that permit fee is going up to $250 as well. A new fee type that's being added in this is traffic and transportation fees. There are current traffic and transportation fees that really apply to construction projects, and that really didn't equate to special events. So we've come up with a new fee schedule for those traffic and transportation fees, with the exception of the commercial film and photography. They get regular street blocking fees. We also have a new fee schedule for those meter bags when those special events are requesting meter bags, non-metered parking spaces, and dumpster permits. And then the park use fees, we've increased this. There used to be a crazy matrix. Now this is very clear. Special events will have the ability to really pinpoint and ballpark what their event, what they're trying to host is going to cost them. So those daily park rates, that's per day, and then a load in and load out rate. So every day prior to the event would have that load in, load out rate, and then every day after that they've got the park permit, because we can't permit the park if they've got their tent in it. Special use park fees. We have a lot of events that need electrical access. Electrical access is not available in all the parks, but when it is, we wanted to just update and make those fees transparent to what that actually will cost. And then the deposits, which would be up to $5,000. And we generally, for our larger events, see, about that already for a deposit. I kind of ran through that really quickly. Does anybody have any questions, or did I skip over something you want me to give a little bit more background on?
No, that was wonderful. Go ahead, Councilmember Shealy.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Parker. Thank you, Katie. Wanted to just ask, does this affect the kids' birthday party at the shelter at the park or anything like that?
So that's going to be Lori. She's going to give more information. So
Okay.
I think they've updated. So with special events, this is the big things like the St. Patrick's Day parade or the half marathon, those events. Now we do have smaller events like there's some block parties that have less than 500 people that close a street. There's a couple of block parties. So they'll see an increase on the permit fee, and they'll have that new traffic and transportation fee, at least for those examples. But the birthday parties, that's recreation and parks. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you.
Coming up next, yeah. Well, thank you, Miss Gianni. I do have a couple of questions. And thank you for doing all of that work. I know that was probably not an easy task, updating all of those, but what would you say the difference is on some of those? What was the increase?
So for the park permit fee, the increase, so current fee was $25 for a small event. Now it's $50, and then we've increased it $100 for each level. So it's gone to $50 for the small events, $150, $250 for major. Okay.
All right. Comparable to the other jurisdictions around us, Mount Pleasant, North Charleston, what did you find?
Absolutely. So for Mount Pleasant, their festivals, so they've got it broken down a little bit different than us. So their festivals are about $100 a day for their permit fee. Anything over 2 days is $150. Parades and processions is $150, and races, bikes, and walks are $100. That's Mount Pleasant. So we're getting really close to that, or we're right at that with those major and medium events. Mm-hmm. And North Charleston, their fee schedule is different, but I think their fee schedule was like $50 for the permit application, but it turns into a whole different thing with their park, with the park use rentals. They've got a whole different matrix than us. The other one I have in front of me is Greenville. Their major events start at $200 for 2 or more days. Festivals, again, $200, or let's see, parades, $120. And then down here, so public gatherings, neighborhood block parties, $50. So we're still kind of in that range for our other municipalities in the state of South Carolina.
Okay, thank you. And so you said we're right under sort of Mount Pleasant. So Mount Pleasant charges a little more than us, but
if that's what I said, let me correct it. So this new fee schedule for a major event, that'll be those more than 1,000 people's multiple days, we would be charging $250 for the permit, the non-refundable permit application fee. Mm-hmm. For their festival, their 2-day festival, it's $150.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. One last question. I'm sorry, y'all. The meter bag fees. can you tell me a little more? I mean, that seem, I'm just gonna say it. It just seems low. This might be a question I need, a conversation I need to have with Councilmember Seekings as well. But it seems, I mean, $18 per space per day. I mean, what do we
Yes.
charge hourly right now?
So I think is the hourly, I'm not sure what the hourly rate is, but in the traffic and transportation ordinance, and Melissa, do you know what the hourly is?
$4 per every 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in the current City of Charleston ordinance for traffic and transportation fees, and this is not my department, but what it says is this is pretty close. So metered space, the one-time review fee is the same. It would be the $18.50.
Mhm.
The daily fee is still at $18. So that's what's still current. So yeah, this is current. So daily inspection fee is $17.50. So that is what we are currently charging. So that I've just brought that over from the current ordinance to the special events ordinance.
Okay, so we're basically charging $18.50 plus the $18 per day plus the $17 per day.
Correct. And then there's also a $20 per meter bag deposit that you'll get back when you turn those bags back in.
But so let's just say $36 a day, correct?
Correct, per meter.
I don't know. I would love
Or no, 54, right?
54.
18 and then 70, 750. Yes. No, you're right. Because the daily inspection fee would be per permit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would love anyone else to jump in. Does $36 a day sound good to everyone?
Personally, I have nothing to compare it to. So this is my first exposure to this kind of stuff, or these fees. I'll learn more obviously as we go through a whole year and the budgetary process and everything, but do these fees go towards traffic and transportation costs throughout the city, or do they go towards like a general pot that was divvied out later? Or is that out of the scope of this meeting to ask that question?
I'm not sure. I can't answer that. I don't think anyone from budget is here, but okay. Well, I mean, I'm certainly glad to see these, just see this being brought up and having, some of these things we really have needed to update in Charleston, in my opinion. So thank you for doing all the work. I think we'll probably continue. I certainly want to check with some of the downtown council members to see how they, what they think as far as that cost goes, but I guess it can cover a daily rate. If we're giving up that space, we just want to make sure we're covering what we could have received. But okay, well, great. Well, thank you. We will continue the conversation. And do we need to take action, I believe, on this item? Yes.
Move for
Melissa?
approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, moving on, item 4C, an ordinance to amend chapter 22 of the Code of the City of Charleston, Parks and Recreation by amending section 22.4, reservation permit for reserved use. I think this is Laurie.
I will take this. And so, thank you, Councilmember Parker. Can someone share the screen so I can show, our old permit code, the permit, table versus the new one? You all should have gotten that with your information, but, Melissa, you may be able to help with that too, but let me give you a little bit of background. We found ourselves in the same boat as our friends over in special events. It had been since 2009 since the city of Charleston had any fees changed having to do with people using parks, fields, and creating a permit. And these are for smaller events. These are events that might be a birthday party. It might be a family reunion at Hampton Park. It might be reserving a baseball field for a practice. So these are smaller events that don't include alcohol. typically don't have as big of an impact on the neighborhood. Thank you. That's our new one. Thank you, whoever put that up. I appreciate that. I am the least technological savvy person in the world. So we have been working with the Parks and Recreation departments have been working together, because basically this is a fee structure that's set up that the Recreation Department will handle the permitting applications as they come in, but it requires both Parks and Recreation to approve and set fees. And it's been very, very, very difficult with the matrix we had in the past to do that in the general public to understand it. So one of our goals is we're going to be putting online starting July 1st, all of our parks and all of our field schedules, so that citizens can go online, look and see if a ball field is available, look and see if a park is available for a child's birthday party, and actually do that process online. It would also include the fees. So we were trying to make the fee structure easier to understand. We did work with the friends over in special events so that we kept the damage deposits and cancellations and all those fees are the same between both the special events and the Parks and Recreation. But we brought in and looked at what our friends were doing in Mount Pleasant, North Charleston, Goose Creek, and St. Andrews. Not all of our facilities are the same. So sometimes it's comparing apples and oranges. But basically what we're suggesting is the application fee would go $15 for a city resident, $30 for a non-resident. You wanted to have a wedding at any of the locations on there. Here's kind of the capacity and what you can do that time period for, and here's the price. So it basically doubles the price between 2009 and now 2024. If you are a non-resident, the fee is double that. So this is what a city of Charleston resident would pay if they wanted to have a wedding at White Point Garden and they were willing to only have 25 people for 1 hour. They would pay $150 plus the deposits. So it kind of breaks it down this way. Athletic ball field lighting use is given a special amount. The electrical panels and the set electrical panels and then running them, that's all the same fees as the electrical division had given for special events. If someone wants to rent a recreation building where they want access to restrooms, indoors and out, there is a staff fee to pay for that. We've set some maximums on using our park houses. Let's say we want to have a birthday party at Lenovar Park. There's a 4-hour max. You can't reserve it for 12 hours because that allows other families to be able to use some of those dates. We've also got St. Julian and Carl Richardson, which is in West Ashley, has become a very popular event space. So we put the prices down for that. They're a little bit nicer buildings. They've got some kitchen accommodations and food storage. We've got prices to rent our gymnasium, any of our multi-purpose rooms. It also goes into our athletic fields, which include baseball fields. If you go to the next page, whoever's sharing their screen, thank you. It's got baseball fields, tennis courts, basketball. It's also got stony field with that synthetic turf surface. It is the most expensive. And it should be, because when we have to do the maintenance and replace that, it will be expensive. So we're still charging less than Charleston County School District to rent that field. We've got a few covered shelters where folks can have picnics, and then just general park use rentals. Let's say somebody wants to do a family reunion at Hampton Park out by the lagoon. They're going to have 50 people. They could have it for 3 hours. It'd be $50. And then we put the deposit fees. So the other change that we're asking in addition to these fees is the old ordinance allowed the residents or someone applying for a permit to apply 14 days from the event and then make the payment 7 days prior to the event. We like to have that 21 days prior to the event and make payment 14 days. In many cases, we do have to have staff assigned to work these events. And in trying to ask a staff person to give up a Saturday or a Sunday with their family, they put it on the schedule, and then somebody just cancels at the last minute and doesn't make a payment. It doesn't really help us that way. So I'd like to be able to guarantee our staff a little bit better, at least a 2 to 3 week leeway with that. So if someone does not make a payment 14 days prior to the event, we would cancel that event and we could give our staff 2 weeks notice. But we do a lot of these. It's a great price. We're still we're a little bit cheaper than Mount Pleasant in most cases, but we're right in line given the age of our facilities and where they are and how they can be used. But this will allow our customers and our residents to determine how much something would cost and if it's available without us having to have 10 staff people talk to them and answer questions and all that. You'll be able to figure these costs out online in real time. So I'm happy to answer questions. I have worked with Melissa in legal on this. And again, this has been Parks and Recreation working on this. So Jason Kronsberg and his staff have been meeting with us and working on this as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Councilmember Shealy, thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Like Lori, that would have taken me. We would have been here till 6 o'clock had I had to figure that out. So thank you.
And I want to add, can I add one more note? So a lot of times, and I say this to you all because you don't need to know this, you know it, but our other city council members, when it's reported out, a citizen can always go use a city park at no cost. Let's say you do want to go have a birthday party out at Lenovar Park. You don't want to use inside. You just want to have a cake and invite some kids and play. That's fine. But if someone else already has a permit and has reserved that space, they're going to have first priority. So that's why this process is great for a lot of our families. It's still very affordable, and it lets them know, hey, if I'm going to invite my friends and family, we're going to have a space, we're going to have an approved permit, but the citizens can still go out and throw a ball on a field with their children. You can still go out and get together with your family. This doesn't preclude that. This just allows and makes sure that if you do in a planned event, that your reservation is going to carry and you don't invite everybody in your family and then you can't use the space. So I just want to add that detail. You can still use parks at no cost. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this is great. I mean, thank you so much for all the work that you and Jason put into this. I certainly think this is a much needed upgrade to the city of Charleston. But also let's add in that, for the committee, I mean, this is all going to be online now. So this is, again, getting away from that paper process, and individuals that want to rent a baseball field or have a birthday party, they'll be able to do this through RecTrack, right? So they're working through all that, and it's a process. I mean, this is all of our staff learning a new system. So let's really support them in this, and because I think it's going to be a really great thing for our citizens.
It will. When we added RecTrack several years ago for online registration, we now have 2 out of every 3 transactions of people that sign up for our programs do it online.
Right.
So yes, it was a learning curve with that. It's going to be a learning curve with this, but I think it's going to make it a lot easier for folks to understand and see availability online and be able to make those choices and decisions, see how much it would cost and not wait on a call back. It's just a more efficient way of taking care of our residents.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's wonderful. So we will, just so everyone knows, if we'll make a if this gets approved today and then at council, I think Laurie said this will go into effect on July 1st. I think from now until, when we report out, I think it's important to maybe, if y'all would like to talk to your constituents, those that use these fields, and just, ask them about the fees. I mean, I certainly think they're more than reasonable. I actually felt that on a few, maybe we could have gone up, but again, I digress. I think this is really wonderful. So does anyone have any other questions?
Move for approval.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, well, the ayes have it. So we will bring this out to council for final approval. Lori, can I add one thing? I just thought of, and again, this might be more than is needed right now, but it might be a wonderful idea as we move forward, just with signage in some of these parks, just a simple QR code, something like that. This is something I can talk to Jason about, that can now say, rent this park, to take a picture here. It might help link that process, moving forward. So I think maybe at a later recreation committee, if everyone agrees, that might be something we can add to this.
Absolutely. We have started using some QR codes for some of our programming where you can do the same thing. So I think that would be a great move into this century for our city. Yes, it would be great.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your hard work on this. I know took a lot of time, but wonderful. All right, y'all, moving on. All right, we are at 4D, authorization for the mayor.
Move for approval, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Does anyone need, this is in my neck of the woods, so does anyone need any information, any discussion?
Are there changes on this? I guess I would like an update on exactly what changes we have on this compared to what we've had in the past.
Sure. Melissa, did you want to take that? Or do you want me to?
I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not sure that I was on this one, but
okay. That's okay. And I don't mind either, Lori. I mean, Kevin, basically, Councilmember Shealy, basically, it's just an agreement. As you know, the Bayview Soccer Fields and the Youth Soccer Club have a very an agreement of sorts on the fields. And this will just ultimately add some bathroom usage language. I think it was included. It should have been included in your packet. That's pretty much it. Some cleaning, help, janitorial. Is there anything else I'm missing, Lori?
I don't think so. They this would give them a key. They've had access to restrooms when the city's out there and had the restroom buildings open. They've asked that the actual lease be honored and that they have access when they're out there without the city. So in agreement with that, we're going to make keys for them. They're going to hire a cleaning service to provide twice a week cleaning. The city also will be cleaning. And then we're going to be splitting the cost of our janitorial supplies. We'll bill them quarterly for that so they can help us pay for that. I'm sure there will be some conversations as we start this about cleaning and what that looks like and how that works. But basically, if you're out playing in a soccer field at Bayview, it won't matter if you're on a city field or a James Allen Youth Soccer Club field, you'll have access to the same restroom building that the city has and is responsible for.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. So great community partner. And I apologize. Did we all vote? Move for, I mean, I think we did. I apologize.
think we
I'm not
did.
sure that did we vote? I know we made a motion and seconded, but I don't think we voted. So
Right. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Any nays? All right, the ayes have it. Thanks, y'all.
Chairman Parker, may I interrupt and speak of voting? I don't know that we actually took a motion and vote on 4C. And if we did, I apologize.
Move for approval on 4C.
I think we did, but we can
We
do
did.
it again.
I thought we did.
Yeah,
I thought we
Oh,
did.
Okay, all right.
we did. Brittany, is Brittany still here?
This is Wanda, and y'all did.
Yeah, we did.
Y'all took the vote.
Okay.
Sure.
All right, 4E, again, this is just for discussion, y'all, the bond referendum. I know we're kind of running up on an hour, but we really just wanted to, I have been getting a lot of questions. I know a lot of other council members have been getting a lot of questions on what happens next. So this is just merely for discussion. I'd really like to, I think it'll help give the mayor's office a little direction too, if this committee sort of comes together and, you know, what do you want to see the next steps be? I know I have an idea of what they are, and we have discussed, I think, previously in a recreation committee, but I would love to hear from y'all, and that way sort of we can give the mayor's office some direction. So I would love to hear your thoughts, or you can listen to me ramble on about mine. Does anyone feel like they?
I'll speak on this really quick. I
Please.
asked Councilwoman Parker and I talked about this. I get pinged all the time on Johns Island when we get in our recreation center, because of course they're aware that they just voted on it in November. I know it takes a long time, but I just wanted to bring up, just start talking about the process, because my understanding, talking to Ms. Copeland and some other folks on the city staff, is that yes, the citizens voted on it overwhelmingly in November, but we still, I believe, have to do some things when it comes to the budgeting side, we have to actually vote separately for a millage increase, I think. And I don't know the timeline of that. And then I don't know if we have to wait for that and then we focus on, you know, the budgeting cycle, figuring out and the planning for each of the different areas around Charleston that referendum was addressing. So I just wanted to start talking about it because I instead of not talking about it, just thinking things are working behind the scenes, I wanted to kind of expose the process and kind of get everybody on the same page.
Okay. Well, yeah, and I should have touched on that first. So we did have a discussion, I think last year, you know, obviously it passed with overwhelming support and it will not start generating funds. Someone from budget, I think I saw Ms. Wharton. I don't believe it will start generating dollars until 2025 is what, if I'm not mistaken. So right now, I think when we think about next steps, it's just sort of getting the word out. You know, do we, I think at a previous recreation committee, we talked about just getting some signage up on some of these locations, you know, talking about what could be coming. Some council members agreed with that, some didn't. I certainly think it sends a really great message. You know, our citizens just want to see the city taking action. It's a great, you know, it's great, a lot of support. We have a lot of really great things coming, and people just want to know. So those would sort of be those are my initial reactions to the next steps. Before, you know, again, we're not generating any income for it now, or you know, any funds for it now, but we can certainly take some steps. And unfortunately, of course, I put this on the agenda and Mr. Kronsberg isn't here, and that's okay, but we will need him to sort of give us a little help, you know, guiding us on that, on what we can, because, you know, signs cost money, so we have to have it in the budget. Clearing any land, you know, things like that. But so we can continue this discussion at the next recreation committee meeting. I think that would probably be ideal. And but just think about, you know, what your citizens, you know, what your constituents want to see. What do you want to see from this? I mean, I know everyone wants to see a shovel in the ground, but I don't think that's going to happen, you know, this year. But all right, Mystique, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I met with Jason about this on Friday, and I think it's important to the extent that while things are happening on the budget side of things, that we kind of move forward with the JI Rec Center. That's something that everybody is supportive of. And so just that at the appropriate time, when we're ready to kind of take the next steps, we'll be ready to do that. So he's working on that. We'll share that as soon as we have that available for you. So that's one thing moving kind of in the right direction, I think. And that's just one of many different projects that we need to be working toward.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Councilmember Gregory and Councilmember Shealy, I might just call you out real quick. I mean, I know y'all have been here a little while, and as far as other bond referendums that you've done, do you have any suggestions or anything you can guide some of us newcomers on?
Well, one thing I would say is that we may need to take a look. I mean, what people voted on, there was a list there. So I think when we're talking about this, we need to probably have that list in front of us and say, okay, here's what everyone voted on right here in front of us, you know, and make sure that we're following what they said. And certainly there's some language in there where we can vary from that if we need to, but I just feel like having that list in front of us as a guide would help us a bunch as we go through this process.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. Let's just plan. How about if y'all I'm going to put this back on the agenda in May, and hopefully we'll have some updates from Mr. Kronsberg.
Great.
Any other questions? All right, moving on. Last item, y'all, and this is another one from me. It just has to do with Thomas Johnson Park. So that's a park over here in my district. It was formerly Councilmember Gregory's district. There has been, I mean, Councilmember Gregory, how long? There's been a drainage issue on that at that park for a very, very long time.
Since I remember, yes.
Yeah, it's certainly not getting better, as we all know, but I know I've been here 2 years, and I have been asking, and I know it's probably needs to go to Public Works as well, but I was a little concerned, I have to admit, that, you know, when I found out when Jason when Mr. Kronsberg gave the list of projects, you know, Etowah Park, I think on Daniel Island, their drainage was getting fixed and that was approved. It was just troubling to me because I don't know how long it's been flooding over there, but this park at Thomas Johnson, it's in bad shape. I mean, it's in terrible shape. And I really think that we need to start prioritizing some of these community parks. So I'm not sure. I see Mr. Fountain is on here. I don't know if there's more backstory, more history that I don't know about. If it's more challenging. I know Jason's Mr. Kronsberg has given me a little bit of insight, but if there's anything you can add, I'd love to hear it.
Sure, Madam Chairman, I can give you a very brief overview. Let's see, share that screen. So this is the park location. The stormwater features on the site, they actually kind of come through a pipe along the side. But you can basically see there's a series of neighborhood streets that drain down into the park, mostly through the pipe system, and then a series of upstream neighborhoods that drain into this. And there's a major canal that runs along the back of the park, across the Sessionville, then out into the marsh through a series of box culverts under Peace Hill. But the color coding on here, this green is basically the lowest land in the area. So pretty much the outside of the park is kind of built as a bowl that's lower than almost any of the neighborhood. So pretty much if you get heavy rainstorms and there's any kind of high tide level out here, the first place you're going to see water pooling up is in that lower line area of the park. And then the highland is really only about a foot above that. So I suspect, and Lori probably, or Jason, give you a better feel for athletic field drainage, but typically if you have standing water this close to an area that's only a few inches higher than that, you know, you're going to get a soggy field in general. So that's likely what's happening. I mean, from a very, very quick high level view, you would normally build up this area and add in some under drains and then excavate out the lower line area to provide like kind of a balance of stormwater storage so you don't push that flooding onto other properties. And that would give you a nice high dry area of the park and then some lower, very wet areas of the park that you would plant with landscaping or something to keep people out of those low wet areas. So that's just a quick overview of what you'd be looking at with a typical kind of drainage situation and what's going on in that area.
Okay, and do you think, is this more of a parks project or a public works project, or would it be a combination of both?
Yeah, that's a little bit of a stretch for me. For likely any work associated with the field would be kind of a park style project. Any work associated with trying to improve the canal or clean any of these cross pipes, that kind of work would be a stormwater public works style project. So we could certainly take a look with DOT at those pipes under Secessionville, Peace Hill, see if there are any partial blockages or anything that could be improved, which would help the park drain out faster. But with that low-lying area, it is still always going to be the first thing that kind of accumulates water in the area, other than a couple of the roads, which Councilman Gregory and now yourself, Councilwoman, are probably getting very familiar with some of the flooding in that Westwood, Westchester area as well.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, so we can look at some repair or maintenance work on that canal, which we do have this in our kind of check area, so it shouldn't be problematic, but sometimes those DOT roads can have some challenges, and we can take a look at trying to clean out those pipes. And then the work on the park itself would probably come through the Parks Department or some other approach.
Okay, understood. I know it just, I mean, as we know, everything's getting worse, and that is what it's just become a lake of sorts for any rain. And then obviously all of our fields, anyway, it's a beautiful park. I know they've just been struggling with this for quite some time. I've been to the Daniel Island Park. I'm just concerned. I don't know how we prioritize these projects, and why this one sort of keeps getting pushed to the bottom. But all right, well, we will continue that conversation. If anyone has any other questions or any other business to come before the committee.
I guess mine is not quite a question. But it sounds to me as though it was designed to do exactly what it's doing. I'm talking about the park. It's the lowest area. Is it a creek bed?
I'm not. Is it okay if I respond, Madam Chairman?
Yeah.
Oh, please.
So Councilor Greger, I think it looks like it was acquired from CPW or CWS in the past. I'm not sure what the origin was. I doubt it was a creek bed, but it may very well be they did at some point. It looks like they probably did have the drainage flowing through the area and it got piped in at some point. So it probably stayed as kind of a low lying swale, and it likely has been a wet parcel for a very long time. I mean, there is some potential to do like a collaborative park stormwater project. I mean, Greenville's been doing a bunch of these where they'll go into parks and instead of just draining out the field, they'll try to also do like some neighborhood scale drainage improvements where they dig out more than they need to balance the highland. And they kind of intentionally store water for the neighborhood on the edge of the park. So we could look at something like that collaboratively if we want to get into a little more of a stormwater project. But I agree. I think this is just exactly what we'd expect the park to do, is to hold water in those low-lying areas and make the highland a little bit soggy. And this time of year especially, that's going to be hard because it takes a long time to dry out when we don't have the trees and the grass working. And then as Councilmember Parker mentioned, we've gotten a lot of high tides the last 3 or 4 years. And when it's a tidal system draining like this, that really does back up the water into these low-lying areas.
Okay, thanks.
So, Madam Chairman, as a follow-up, I think it's up to this committee, okay, if we wanted to make a recommendation to sort of prioritize, and because there'll have to be studies and all kinds of stuff done before we could even get to it. Am I correct, Mr. Fountain? I mean, we'd have to go through a couple of years of assessments, design, blah, 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 blah.
It depends a little bit on what level. If it was just a soil balancing project, that's very minimal. That's almost like a site. It's not zero. You're right, Councilman. Between hiring someone to do the plans and laying it out, you're still probably looking at something like a year between procurement and planning work, assuming you didn't do it in-house. If you want to do a neighborhood scale drainage improvement project, you are looking at more like a year or 2 years to do a design and try to get into how much can you do with improvement, where's the water table out there, and what are making sure there's no negative impacts to anyone.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, I just think that maybe we need to sort of take a position and recommend it to the appropriate department to move forward, at least with a study or something to get things started.
I agree. I mean, because I mean, I know you used to represent this neighborhood, and I don't want to. If this pond or this field is doing what it's supposed to be doing, is what you're saying, then they don't feel that way, or they don't know that. This community doesn't know that. But if that's the city's position, then I think we need to relay that to them. And if there's nothing that can be done, then there's nothing that can be done. But I think, yes, well, I would.
I think there's something that can be done. I just think we need to determine what that is, and make our recommendations accordingly.
Okay, can we do that in-house, Mr. Fountain? Can our staff sort of give us an idea of like what I just said? Is it fixable? Is there something we can do? Is it going to alleviate it enough to make a difference? Can we do that in-house?
You could do a relatively quick calculation of how much dirt you could add into the baseball field while still staying in kind of the low-lying areas, and see if Mr. Kronsberg felt comfortable with that level of impact to the park. That would be a parks project element. I'm not sure what his construction skill set is in-house. If we wanted to go more complex than that, we'd start to get into a little bit of calculation with some under drains and some other things. So it depends on scale. If we want to do it with the stormwater project, we could recommend it as one of the potential, or evaluate as one of the potential small project allocation projects for either this year or future year. For parks, I'm not sure what their policy is and how they set that up.
Okay. All right. Perfect. I will talk to Mr. Kronsberg. And in the meantime, if maybe we can just add the SCDOT request to some of those areas, and that might help with the pieces to this puzzle. but I appreciate it. Thanks for being here. All right.
Thank you.
Well, long agenda. Thanks, everyone.
I move that we adjourn.
Okay, I second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Bye.
All right.
You
Bye.
guys take care.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye.
All right.